Alright, this is the second video of cool things or bugged things or just things. Things from the patch. Patch things. Third video, let's get into it. So taking a look at Karanak, the Hound of Khorne. He does a Vanguard deployment, can run out pretty quick, 95 speed. And whenever he is near an enemy caster, he does spawn these little doggos around him with the Prey of the Blood God, Net, and now he's silencing the Gracier, so the Gracier can't cast anything. He's taking Vigor and melee defense debuffs from Wounded Prey. He's having a bad time. The one thing I don't love about Karnak is that they used... That looks so much like that Cursed Bite or whatever from the ROR Things in the Woods that reduces healing by 100%. They use like the same icon, which is really confusing and feels lazy. But yeah, he's pretty good. He's good at hunting down ground-based caster lords and just silencing them and beating the shit out of them forever. He doesn't have any self-healing, but as we can see here, he's not having issues hitting the Gracier on his mount, which is actually speaks pretty well of his animations overall, because a lot of things can have issues hitting Graciers. So good Karnak go. Good little guy. Very annoying for casters. Very fast, good duelist. His only problem might be his cost. He is pretty expensive, and for a hero slot, just a single entity little hunter guy. We'll see how it goes for him. Alright. Next thing that I'm sure a lot of high elf mains are already very aware of, the Fireborn are ridiculous right now. Now note, I'm not going to cast Dragonhorn or Lord of Dragons. We're fighting the Royal Altdorf Griffites. Royal Altdorf Griffites are 50 gold more expensive than the Fireborn. Both are anti-large armor-piercing cavalry, but one of them is significantly better, as the Fireborn run shop over the Royal Altdorf Griffites. Killing those guys while staying above half HP, 53-52 for stats, versus 43-41. It's just not a contest. The Royal Altdorf Griffites are horrendously outmatched. Fireborn, 1600 value, Royal Altdorf Griffites, 750. So then test 2, I grabbed the Skull Crushers of Khorne, who are about the same cost. I think they're 100 gold cheaper. And I even gave them the Herald of Khorne with all of his various melee attack buffs and all that stuff. Imric's gonna back off, not participate in the fight at all, don't debuff, don't buff. Alright, Dragon Princes charge straight into the Skull Crushers. Locust of Wrath is out, 110 melee attack for these Skull Crushers, but it doesn't look like it's going to save them, as they are getting crushed. Now, they are doing better than the Royal Altdorf Griffites, though, to be fair, they have the support of a Lord who's casting buffs on them. The AI try to run away from this losing fight. It is not going to work. I do hunt them down, kill them off, and then go for the caster 2, slamming him into the dirt, still at about half HP, no healing, no buffs, cast. Fireborn are very strong, quite ridiculous. I know some people are playing them against Grail Knights, and it was like, the Fireborn beat Grail Knights, but barely. True, but Grail Knights are also, like, the best cavalry in the entire game, so that's still just the Fireborn are real good. I think it's going to be fine, because you can only take one of them. They're Regiment number 9, they're very expensive, and they still, like, die pretty quickly to, like, Fate of Buna, or Dragon Breath attacks, or things like that, so, yeah. It'll be okay. It's a boon to High Elves, but they'll need it. On to some happy things from the patch for people who watch a lot of multiplayer content. Bloodrack Medusas did get nerfed, and actually I think in a pretty healthy way. They do much decreased damage against single entities and cavalry, and they do almost the same as they used to versus infantry, which just makes them an anti-infantry tool, is really all they're here for now. You can see that those damages really aren't shit, and they take half health off these bleak swords in one volley with a bit long. I think they have a longer reload time? I don't know. It takes them a while to fire again. But these guys, they're just doing no damage to the Cold One Knights. And they almost kill off the bleak swords on the charge, so Medusa's got a bit nerfed, and now they're just good at infantry kiting, and that's about it. Alright, next up is the Soul Grinder of Tzeentch. They used to be anti-everything tool. Now does okay versus single entities, terrible versus infantry, and very little to cavalry as well. So the Tzeentch Soul Grinder kite is going to be significantly decreased in effectiveness. Their penetration went way down. We can see Malice took literally 0 damage from that volley because he was standing in bleak swords, and he's even on spite, so They just can't hit him well. Not doing too much damage to the Cold One Knights either. Soul Grinder of Tzeentch is either going to be just fine or honestly underpowered. But we'll see. A good nerf that was probably needed. Well, definitely needed for such an overpowered unit. We'll see if it was over-nerfed, though. Next up is the Noxbringer, Soul Grinder of Nurgle that still manages to miss most of its fucking shots. It did get an accuracy buff, which is what we're here to see, but literally as the game started, it fired at the Bleak Swords and missed. Now it's going to shoot at the Dark Shards, and I believe this volley hits really nicely. So it's weird. It's kind of... My assessment on it is the Noxbringer is better than he was, but still, like, very spotty on whether he hits or not. If he hits, he does big damage, but he misses quite a lot of shots, as we're going to probably see. I think this one missed. Yeah, that one missed horribly, considering it was aiming at the Bleak Swords, and it went way over their heads and kind of nicked the Dark Shards behind him. So, yeah. I don't know. I probably still wouldn't bring the Noxbringer, but it's there. It'll hit, like, half of its shots. All right, point-blank range into the Bleak Swords. There we go. Good hit there on the Bleak Swords. And I think it fires once more into the Dark Shards after kiting for a second. Dark Shard shot! Half hit. Better. Not great. Next up are the buffed Carronades of the Vampire Coast, the last artillery piece that hadn't gotten any of the Game 3 touch-ups they needed. And I gotta say, they're back on the menu, boys. I have one shooting at each target here, the Empire Cannons, Volkmar the Grim, and these two Empire Knights. And the cannons, when they hit the Empire Knights, do a lot of damage. They're also messing up Volkmar pretty bad, and they're doing fine with the Great Cannons of the Empire, already taking out one of their models in the first volley. Now, while they're not overpowered or anything, I do think they just got a quality of life update that they needed. Doing decent damage to cavalry on the charge, which normally you would have infantry between you and them and some handguns to help defend you. I mean, cavalry should get to a cannon if it's just shooting at them with no defenses, but they did decent damage on the charge, so not worried about that at all, and took about 2/3 of Volkmar's health, again, when he was just straight up charging at them. Nice to see from what was the worst cannon in the game. Speaking of Volkmar, he did get some buffs. I think the Grand Shield of Faith and the Grand Hammer Siglar? No, just the Shield of Faith got an effect range increase, but we're here to look at Soulfire Bombardment. It did get a little bit of a damage tune-up. It went from like 35 base damage to 50 on the explosion, but I don't know. I'm still a little underwhelmed with it. I'm going to dive into some Bleak Swords here and cast it, and we'll see how much damage it does. It used to be pretty much useless. Not there. Yeah, not bad. Like half-ish health off of a Bleak Sword in one cast. Not bad. I still don't think Volkmar will even be back on the menu for the Empire, to be honest. They still have the Master Engineer, who's quite good on his steam tank. They still have Elspeth, and while she's expensive on her dragon, on horse, she's really solid. Franz is good, Todbringer's good, Gelt is good, so I don't think we'll see much Volkmar, but it's cool. Another big change is the Engine of the Gods changes. I think they do a little bit more damage, but mostly is their speed. If you've ever used the sky laser things, you'll know how slow they are. Well, no longer. Now they fucking zoom in as they tear through stuff that's in front of them. Going real fast. And that makes them much more usable, because now when they get cast, they actually move quickly enough to maybe catch somebody. You can still dodge them, but you have to be on top of it, where, like, if you don't notice it casting for a while, then it will hit you, which is nice. Where previously, if you waited for it to cast and then start dodging after the laser appears on your screen, you'll still dodge it. It was literally that slow. All right, here's the only change. If I remember all the changes, here's the only one I'm going to be, like, actively negative about. The Dread Saurian got collision attacks. For campaign, I get it. I get it. It's supposed to be super strong, right? I'm talking about multiplayer. Campaign, great. You want the Shredder to be good. You want the other Dread Saurians to be good. But collision attacks on such a big body with such big mass and such strong weapon strength, the Shredder now tears through infantry like nobody's fucking business. And that's just not great, as already healing being as strong as it is and 2 seconds off of regrowth's duration isn't going to be nearly enough to take it, like, out of the meta or anything. So this just means the Shredder with his heal blob can do even better. It's not a strategy we've seen in a while, but it's not one that I really want buffed back up, as he takes a quarter of the Bleak Sword's health off on the charge, and then he's going to fucking terror rot him. But yeah, the Shredder is mulching through infantry now. It's not crazy OP, it's just kind of a buff to a playstyle that I don't particularly enjoy. How does his frontal charge against these Bleak Swords go? Pretty half-assed on that one, to be honest. Goes through them. I swore there was a really good one in here somewhere, but looks like not. It's just another quarter HP off these guys as he eats them alive. High Beastmaster's beating up on my poor Slan. Oh, yeah, there it is. Half health off those guys. He wasn't even trying to attack them. He was just walking to the High Beastmaster, and he happened to kill an entire fucking unit. He's just pathing through them, destroying all these guys. He's already got 218 kills. Just walking through. Now, they're Bleak Swords, right? Like, if these were Halberds, he'd be taking a bunch of damage in return or whatever, but yeah. The Shredder heal blob might be a little bit better now. Oh boy! Alright, last thing for this changes video. Now, there's more changes in the patch. I was more of just highlighting things that are kind of cool to talk about or very visual. There were buffs and nerfs to a lot of units that just don't really make the cut of, like, content, right? But, like, Storm Vermin got a cost decrease and some stat buffs and some leadership buffs here and there. Trying to think of what else. Grail Knight's got, like, 2 melee attack off. Like, you have to go read the patch notes for all that stuff. But this is just talking about, like, bigger changes. And for now, I have double Waywatcher against double Deepwood Scouts with Swift Shiver Shards. So Deepwood Scouts, both types got range increases, I think. But the Swift Shiver Shards especially, they're at 180 range. And with their magic damage and higher missile strength than the Waywatchers, they are actually a little spoopy. Especially versus demons. Deepwood Scouts overall got big buffs, feeling very much improved, but against demons, they are going to be really nice tech pieces. You can see they're out DPSing the Waywatchers against these Plague Bears. And Durthu plus other Ancient Treemen also got a neat little ability, Ancient Protector. Gets rid of magic attacks in their nearby radius, making them 20% more resistant to physical attacks, since their physical resistance actually gets to apply again. So between these two buffs, I could see Wood Elves being a Demons of Chaos counter, where Deepwood Scouts with Swift Shiver Shards are going to be amazing, and then Treemen Lords will also be very, very good. And with Demons of Chaos getting buffs after buffs after buffs, and all the demonic factions getting buffs to try and get them up to the tier the mortal factions are in, which are good buffs. I'm not disagreeing with them at all, but I could see Wood Elves being a niche little counter pick. Hell, Demons of Chaos were taking against me. In the 4 games I've gotten to play on this patch, I've fought Demons of Chaos twice. So, they're feeling pretty good. And as army losses will soon hit, both of these groups, 2 Waywatchers and 2 Deepwood Scouts, have been firing this whole time at Plague Bearers, and then the Waywatchers can get a little side shot onto a Lord. For their values, 600, 730 versus 530 and 545. So, yeah, the Deepwood Scouts, for a good amount cheaper, I think 250 gold, 350 gold, they can out DPS Waywatchers in demonic matchups, so something to consider, that they might be a good counter unit there. Roar. Subscribe, yes, yes.